Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. You know, we look at our homeless challenge as being one of the more complex things we have to deal with throughout the city. And I think that's just stating the obvious. But there are a lot of solutions and different ones that we're trying now that really begin to have some impact. And this situation with our Guardians Ad Litem, and you're going to hear from some great voices today explaining this program, is one more really viable solution that we want to bring more into the forefront. So right now the city only has 2 Guardians Ad Litem, and only one has actually been practicing here on Oʻahu. And really, quite honestly, this program is designed to allow us to help treat the most at-risk individuals we have. Those people that you see sometimes, unfortunately, out there on a sidewalk, look completely lost to their world, suffering, in pain, and in need. And this program can go a long way in helping with that. But the fact that we only have 2, that's what today is about. This is an all-out appeal. We need 5 more at a minimum. And we're going to ask people from the legal community to step up. Although you do not have to be a lawyer to be involved with this program, we would prefer that. So today is a call to action to help us be able to better execute this very viable solution, which can be applied against our most needy and the ones that are most at risk. So without any further ado, I want to bring up the state's homeless coordinator, Jun Yang, to give you a little bit more. Honestly, we have a great panel of speakers today, and I'll be back to see when everybody's finished. Thank you, Jun.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Hello, everyone. My name is Jun Yang. I'm the Governor's Coordinator on Homelessness, and here on behalf of the statewide Office on Homelessness and Housing Solutions. I'd like to thank Mayor Blangiardi for giving me the opportunity to speak on this important topic that impacts some of our most vulnerable community members. Earlier this year, Governor Green reaffirmed the state's commitment to reducing homelessness by increasing housing. And we wholeheartedly believe that housing is health care. We've added over 1,000 ʻAʻala units and beds to our statewide inventory. Yet we're here today to talk about a subset of vulnerable people who need a higher level of intervention due to complex mental health needs. Many of these individuals cycle through emergency rooms and end up on the streets where their health issues worsen. Assisted community treatment gives us another option to help people who lack the ability to care for their own health and safety needs. People who don't realize how sick or injured they are because of their mental health issues, which makes them hesitant to accept services. Through the ACT legal process, a petitioner like IHS can present evidence to the court to demonstrate that medical treatment is in the best interest of the person in need. For many people suffering from untreated mental illness on the street, an ACT order can be a turning point that puts them on a pathway to ending their homelessness, healing their trauma, and improving their health and overall quality of life. Programs like assisted community treatment rely on the availability of court-appointed Guardians Ad Litem at every stage of the decision-making process. Currently, the need for these advocates in family court proceedings far exceed the supply, which increases the time it takes for cases to be processed. As the mayor stated, these are voluntary appointments that require a substantial amount of work and in and out of the courtroom. During this legislative session, we have an opportunity to incentivize the participation in this program and to close the gap between the supply and demand for Guardians Ad Litem. House Bill 398 proposes increased compensation for court-appointed counsel and Guardians Ad Litem. In the coming weeks, state lawmakers will be meeting to discuss and hopefully pass this important legislation. I join Mayor Blangiardi in calling for volunteers from our legal community and other licensed human service professionals to serve as Guardians Ad Litem, especially to assist in the review of assisted community treatment and involuntary hospitalization cases. Your contributions will help to ensure that our most vulnerable community members receive urgent attention and high-quality representation. And we thank all who have served and continue to serve in these roles. Thank you again, Mayor Blangiardi and the City and County of Honolulu for the opportunity to represent Governor Green today. And I'll pass it on to Ian Suda from our Attorney General's office. Ian.
Okay, Aloha and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ian Suda. I'm a Deputy Attorney General with the Department of the Attorney General. I'm the lead state attorney for matters relating to assisted community treatment, or ACT for short. I have had the privilege of working on every ACT case brought by the state for the past several years, and I am honored to speak today about ACT, how it can be an effective tool for treatment, and how the Department of the Attorney General has worked to support ACT. ACT is a holistic legal framework intended to assist individuals suffering from mental illness or substance abuse in complying with treatment. Without consistent and effective treatment, these individuals have shown to be susceptible to serious decompensation, which in its worst form can pose a danger to themselves or others. ACT aims to prevent this by ensuring that individuals are consistently monitored and provided with crucial treatment, thereby helping them break free from the constraints of their illness. ACT treatment plans can cover a variety of treatment modalities needed for success, such as medication, supportive mental health treatment, and even non-mental health treatment, such as case management services. With consistent treatment, individuals' insight and judgment will improve, creating positive changes that can be sustained over time, permeating to all aspects of their lives, such as accessing services for housing, employment, and other services to help them maintain their dignity as a functioning member of society. The Department of the Attorney General believes that ACT can change lives, and we are committed to supporting those seeking help for their loved ones. To that end, we've created a webpage where people in the community interested about ACT can learn more and submit referrals to our department for assistance in obtaining ACT orders. Through our referral process, we will work directly with you at all stages of the case, providing guidance on how to achieve this goal. You can find out more about this process at our webpage at ag.hawaii.gov/ACT_petition_info. So with that, I'd like to thank the mayor and our partners in the city and county for allowing me to speak at this event, and look forward to continuing our work together in this important area. Aloha.
Good afternoon. Homelessness is a complex and deeply systemic issue that touches every neighborhood across our island. It's not isolated to a park bench, a street corner, or a particular zip code. It's a challenge that affects us all. I see every day the effects of homelessness rippling through our communities. But I also see and hear growing frustration, the feeling that this is a problem too big to solve. However, piece by piece and together, hand by hand, we can combat homelessness. But behind every encampment, every crisis, is a person who deserves dignity, care, and hope. ACT targets a very specific challenge: individuals with severe mental illness who cycle between streets, emergency rooms, and jail cells, never truly receiving the care they need. With ACT, we can offer a structured, court-supported path towards stability that reflects individual rights while recognizing community needs. From the governor's office to the mayor's chambers, through private practice and courtroom floor, volunteer attorneys stand as a beacon of hope, serving as the last line of defense for those battling homelessness, mental health challenges, and legal barriers to care. This is not the only answer, but it is a meaningful one, as it brings all branches of government and private sector together, and part of a caring approach to our homelessness in Honolulu. You know, I was a deputy public defender in the 90s. Sorry guys. I was a deputy public defender in the 1990s, and I used to do involuntary commitment hearings, and I saw firsthand how medication, properly administered, can change lives. People suffering from mental illness with proper care can literally change their lives and those around them. So I want to encourage the legal community to volunteer, reach out, get involved, and help. And again, I want to thank the mayor for doing this and the governor and all involved, because it really is important. We all see it every day, whether it's a bus stop or in front of our businesses, that this needs to get the attention that it deserves. So thank you. At this point, I do want to introduce my colleague, Tyler Dos Santos Tam.
Well, thank you all, and thanks for coming on down to Chinatown. I hope you all will have lunch and patronize the small businesses here in this area. It is an honor to represent this area, but one of the biggest struggles that we have here in Chinatown, in Iwilei, and the surrounding communities is the most difficult homeless cases. For the businesses on Hotel Street, for the residents up on Kukui Street, overnight, we see people camped out who have no idea what's going on, people screaming at the top of their lungs, people who have no idea, where they are and no idea of the type of services that they need. This ACT program with the Guardians program will help to get these folks the services that they need, help them to get their treatment. As Chair Waters mentioned, this program can be transformative, and it's going to be transformative in areas like Chinatown and Iwilei, where these persistent folks who have these long-standing problems can finally get some help, can finally get the treatment they need. And so that for me is the most important thing. I look forward to seeing this program be successful in my community, and I really do want to echo Chair Waters' call to action. For our attorneys out there, if you're not an attorney, if you're an attorney but barred in another state but happen to be living here, this is an area where you can step up and be part of the solution. We need all hands on deck to address our homeless issue, and this is a great place to start. With that, I'm going to turn it over to somebody who's been in the trenches in dealing with this issue for so long and has done amazing work, Connie Mitchell from IHS.
Mahalo, Councilmember Tyler. I have been the executive director at IHS, the Institute for Human Services, for the last 19 years. And, I'm just so blessed today to have the mayor's support in just calling attention to this area, this tool that we have called ACT, or Assisted Community Treatment. I look at it as really an opportunity. What if you were given an opportunity to restore a person's ability to live a healthier life, to reconnect with people they care about, or to begin to truly enjoy the results of their choices in life after years of not being able to make a good choice? That is exactly what ACT is all about, and it has ushered in for some people who have suffered from chronic mental illness and unsheltered homelessness for many years. I want to share with you two stories of just two of these many people we have assisted with this kind of treatment. Lauren is a 51-year-old individual who spent more than 20 years on the streets, off and on, with a diagnosis of schizophrenia and substance use disorder. Estranged from her family, she had no vital documents and found no use for medication. After executing an ACT order, she was brought into our medical respite house, where she received long-acting injectable antipsychotics, which is, to me, the standard of practice for people who are homeless suffering from schizophrenia today. She began then a journey into recovery and entered into permanent supportive housing after 6 months at our medical respite. She has a new outlook on life, considered reconnecting with her family, and has become quite a fashionista. She sports cute little hats, jewelry, and accessories to now show off her newfound confidence. Another person that we helped is Craig. He also spent over 20 years wandering the streets of Honolulu, suffering from numerous medical issues like uncontrolled diabetes and hypertension, and yes, schizophrenia. After being treated under an ACT order, he was able to move into permanent independent living and enjoys cooking his own meals now and experimenting with new recipes. This was not just done with medication, but with a lot of heart heartfelt case management. People supporting them, providing a lot of times counseling and therapy, a lot of the practical things that people need to be able to get back on their feet. Unfortunately, Craig suffered an amputation of his foot before we were able to get him medicated. And part of that is because it takes a long time, longer than I would like, for an act order to be actually granted. And having the GALs, the Guardian Ad Litems that we're talking about today, will help speed that process. Nevertheless, Craig is now more able to walk, and he enjoys engaging in activities with his friends at the apartment where he lives. You know, IHS has been advocating for assisted community treatment since the bill was first passed about 12 years ago. We've actively been petitioning for assisted community treatment for the last 6 years through a city-funded program called the Outreach Navigation Program. This program has given us first-hand experience with the petitioning process and also helped with guiding refinement of the process with the legislature and the Attorney General's office. The dearth of Guardians Ad Litem must be addressed to help scale the use of ACT to help people access mental health treatment. This increased capacity for community-based court-ordered treatment could have significant impact on the mentally ill homeless people and those who often get sent to the Hawaiʻi State Hospital that is burgeoning with their census as well. It is an effort to divert some of these people from incarceration, but it will take all of us, everyone in partnership, the judiciary and service providers, everybody in the community together to make this happen. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Christopher Thomas, who is our attorney, who has been so avid in helping us do this, not just because he's an excellent attorney, but he also has passion for the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the invite, and thank you for the opportunity to speak about something that's very near and dear to my heart, assisted community treatment and the saving of lives through medication here in our community. In the past, speaking about individuals like Connie alluded to, I've become emotional, and I think that speaks to the power of what this law can do and what we can do for the members of our community suffering from serious mental illness and homelessness. It's a powerful combination of the law, medicine, and the administration of the government to help the folks in our community who are literally dying amongst us right now as we speak. For about the last 5 years, I've worked with Connie and the Institute for Human Services, their doctors and their outreach workers, to seek and obtain court-ordered assisted community treatment petitions to help treat folks with medication. And the medication that these doctors use is a game changer. I can tell you firsthand that our doctors are committed to prescribing in a respectful way medication that literally saves lives. I mean, this is an instance where an attorney can help a doctor literally keep someone alive. And for that, I'm very thankful to be able to participate in the program. As you're aware, these orders can be implemented anywhere, including the streets of Chinatown. Sometimes they do require a court order to treat, and that's where our Guardians Ad Litem come in. I've seen Guardians Ad Litem in their function foster an individual who's lying in the streets, who cannot even care for their own safety, who's walking into traffic, or who is assaulting somebody. I've seen Guardians Ad Litem foster them through the process of a petition, foster them through the court process, file a report with the court, and help a judge make a decision about whether treatment is necessary and what treatment to implement. However, we don't have enough of them. The more patients we have, the more orders we need, the more assisted community treatment petitions need to be filed, and the more Guardian Ad Litems need to be brought to bear. Every petition requires a Guardian Ad Litem. It is not discretionary, it's mandatory. So every case needs a GAL. The work of a GAL sometimes, I believe, is misunderstood, or sometimes assisted community treatment is underutilized, I believe, because it's misunderstood, or it's too cumbersome, or it's not glamorous enough for an attorney to get involved with. But I can tell you this, the work of a GAL is life-changing. And it's very straightforward, and the time commitment, I believe, is very reasonable. Some of the nuts and bolts of GAL work is that it will require someone, an attorney, recommended by the court, to invest about 2 to 3 months to see a petition through start to finish. I think that's a reasonable amount of time to dedicate to an important program like this. The GALs devote about 10 to 15 hours, I believe, on average to a petition. And in doing so, they walk them through the entire process to the point that we get an order to treat, and then we have our doctors go out and we implement that order, and we start saving lives. I can think of no more worthwhile function as an attorney volunteering your time. And I know there's a lot of different places you can do it in Hawaii and a lot of different places you can dedicate your efforts, but I can think of no better place for an attorney and a guardian ad litem than to assist this program. Volunteer your time, throw your name in the ring, we'll help you out. It's not as much work as you'd think, and in the end you're going to be doing things that really benefit the community and benefit these individuals. So thank you for the opportunity. I know the mayor's going to talk about how to get involved, and I'll turn it over to him. Thanks.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're informing and we're educating and we're recruiting because we desperately need some volunteers here. As Ted just said, I think you couldn't have heard it any better in what's been recounted here between what Connie had to say and what Ted had to say with respect to the clientele that we aim to serve here and to help. This is addressing our chronic homeless. These are the most challenging for us, the people who are unsheltered, who are suffering from addiction, mental illness. These are the people that everybody says to my office and to people that I work with, you know, how do we get them off the streets? Well, we're just not going to take them and hijack them and put them somewhere and not take care of them. This is all about providing great treatment. I think you heard firsthand some great testimony. So I want to acknowledge the governor's office, Jun Yang, for being here. This is, once again, a strong collaboration between the state and the city. I want to acknowledge Tommy and Tyler for being here today with our city council. We're putting everybody behind us. As I stand here before you today, I believe this is probably an unprecedented effort to recruit Guardians Ad Litem. There are more than 200 beds that weren't even here a year ago. Transitional beds right behind me, right here in the ʻAʻala complex, that we're providing medical treatments for. Transitional beds where people are coming in, spending time, and we're moving them on to permanent supportive housing, and we're only going to build on that capacity. But this dimension of the program, to help provide a solution for us, is really important. So if you want to get involved, it's pretty simple. And I hope that you will feel inspired to be involved. You know, as I listen to Ted, I mean, I agree. This kind of work could be really gratifying. And so we ask those lawyers that are out there, we ask you to please pay strict attention. The email in order to get involved is gal at courts.hawaii.gov. That's gal at courts.hawaii.gov. Or you can call me and I'll help you, because this is a really important program. I'm really proud and thankful to everybody that showed up today. Look, you know, I'm gonna quote. This is a very holy week. You know, Good Friday. This happened just by coincidence. Easter week, Passover. Religions from all over the world are celebrating, and I'm not really a guy to quote scripture, but I've always remembered this. That, you know, said that whatever you do to the least of my brethren, you do unto me. We're talking about the least of our brethren, okay? We're asking for people to help us with this dimension of the solutions that we're trying to offer. Thank you all for being here today. Any questions? Any questions? Because we got some great speakers up here that can answer anything. Dylan, you call.
This one's for possibly the AG's office. I'd like to know, on average per year, how many activations you guys work with or see through the courts.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't have an exact number, but I know that that number has grown since we've been empowered through new laws to allow us to help represent individuals in the community with obtaining these ACT petitions. I think that if, in terms of volume, really the entity that holds the lion's share is IHS. I know that Chris and Connie do wonderful work over there in utilizing these proceedings as an effective tool for treatment.
Do you have any idea on how many people are waiting to get into the ACT program and how long that wait is? If somebody needs something today, how long does it take to
You know, that's a great question. It depends on a number of factors. I think when the referral comes in from an entity that is aware of the procedures, is aware of what criteria is needed in order to prevail in one of these proceedings, it's a lot quicker. It can be a matter of a few months. But there are some referrals that come directly from family members who aren't as savvy about what's required throughout this process. And so that might take a little bit more time and guidance to get to an ultimate resolution, hopefully one that we can achieve for them.
I want to answer that, sir. Please stay up here. Ryan Wilson just told me we had 8 cases last year, but let me give you a perspective on that. And first of all, I want to apologize to Chris Thomas. I don't know why I called you Ted, but I did. But then again, I called Tyler Carlos half the time. I don't know, I get certain names in my head. Look, at the end of the day, I don't think this is about people waiting to get in. This is where we need to be proactive to help them, because these people are not capable oftentimes of making decisions for themselves. And so while we might have only had 8 cases last year, which is why we're here today asking for more Guardians Ad Litem, if we pay attention to the point in time count as far as chronic unsheltered, we know that number is somewhere around 2,700. Okay, so there's lots of cases out there, which is why we're asking for more. We can be proactive. I can tell you that our Evil A Resource Center, talking about stabilizing people, this is not part of that. We've already taken 16 people who were out in the streets. They'd gone through treatment and reunited with their families because their families didn't know what to do with them. But they got stabilized through the medication, the care they got, and that's just another example. So this is about being proactive. I'm going to say it again. This is going against the toughest part of the homeless problem. We have family shelters, 4 of them now. We've got other places where we're putting people who want help, need help, okay? These are the people here that have to be helped, and we need to be proactive about that. Okay, and so this is a key component of it. I can't thank you enough, sir, because I think you are the lone person right now doing it, and we need more help. Okay? Anybody else? That's a good question. I have to ask somebody who does it. How many can they take on at one time, a Guardian Ad Litem?
I think as many as the individual can handle.
As many as they can handle. I think you just said it takes about 15 to 20 hours per case. We're saying today we decided we would, educate the public. I think this is unprecedented, Ash, and so it's sort of crawl before you walk. We're saying 5. I'm hoping we get 25. I think the more we have, the better it would help us do this, because this is part of a solution, and we promised that we would address this homeless challenge with solutions that had not been offered before. That's why I cite the beds behind me and the 1,000 beds that was already mentioned before. We're providing actual treatment for these people. Okay, I'm going to defer to the expert. How long do they go through the, what's it?
If an ACT order is granted, it can be granted for up to 2 years from the time the order is issued. These individuals, the challenges that they're dealing with are lifelong challenges that really don't have a time limit per se. So we're fortunate that our laws allow for a pretty extensive amount of time to allow for this order to be in effect, to ensure that treatment is, to give treatment the best chance of being provided on a continuous basis. No, they're actually out in the community. Like its namesake, it's treatment that's meant to be done out in the community, so with outpatient providers and so forth. And one of the benefits of assisted community treatment is that we're trying to utilize it as a preventative measure to prevent hospitalization, whether on an emergency basis or more long-term at a place like the state hospital.
In terms of the GALs, I think the answer was that the person can do as many as they can handle. They have other kinds of cases that they do also, so it really is up to them. And that's why we say we need more, because if one person can only do 2 and another person can do 2 or 3, it just adds up after a while. I wanted to add to what AG Ian Suda was talking about in terms of the treatment when we do get an ACT. It is the least restrictive manner in which we can treat some of these people, because they are seriously mentally ill, and in previous times they would have been committed to a hospital. But today we have medications that can really help them actually recover in the community, and that's what we're trying to do, is to give them the treatment that they deserve in the least restrictive setting.
Yeah, Paul, go ahead.
Question on that. So what's the criteria for them to get this ACT? Become a part of
Well, yeah, I think we're going to use it. What the criteria? Okay, how that happens? Sure. Good question. Thank you, Paul.
It's a pretty verbose statutory requirement, but if I could boil it down, the person has to be suffering from a mental illness or from substance abuse, and so we're talking about diagnoses that are founded in medical practice, that their mental illness impairs their judgment, impairs their ability to make rational decisions about their treatment and their care, and that they've had a history of non-compliance with treatment. And as a result of that history of non-compliance in treatment, it is likely that they, if they continue along this path, they will become dangerous to themselves or to other individuals. A danger to self can be a danger posed by actual attempts on oneself, or perhaps just deterioration, not taking care of oneself, lack of hygiene, lack of seeking out essential medical care, and so forth. In a nutshell, those are the components that are required for ACT.
and that they're, I guess, forcibly given medication or taken into treatment to initially at least start them on this recovery path?
Well, under current law, if an ACT order is granted, they are bound by the court's order to comply with the treatment plan that is incorporated as part of the order. And the designated treatment provider is supposed to make efforts to ensure that that person complies with their treatment. If they don't comply with their treatment despite having the order, that provider is supposed to take steps to determine whether or not that person requires an emergency examination and requires to be transported on an emergency basis to a psychiatric facility like the Queens Medical Center or one of these other emergency facilities, because at that point, non-treatment has already been proven by a court to be a cause of them becoming dangerous to themselves. So that's the emergency.
And then is the GAL, are they involved in every step along that process, or just, hey, we got the order, here it is, come see me in a month?
That's a great question. They're certainly involved at the time for the duration of the case, from initial filing to obtaining a court order. And during that time, they assess the patient and they use their judgment to determine what they believe is in the patient's best interest. At the conclusion of the proceeding, oftentimes they are discharged from that role, and then it becomes the responsibility of the designated treatment provider that has been identified on that treatment plan to be responsible for ensuring that the person is getting treatment on a consistent basis.
Okay, so they just start, the GALs just start, and then once it gets going, then they say.
Right. They are a necessary part of the procedural framework required for this legal process. I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
Is it just the GAL at the hearing, or is it also they get legal representation?
They have to have a Guardian Ad Litem, and if the court believes that the interests of justice require that individual to have their own counsel as well, then they can appoint one.
So, on that note, I know this did take a couple of years ago. This was taken out of the public defender's office and given to the Guardians Ad Litem. Have you seen an increase in the number of petitions filed, the number of cases seen all the way through? to give like an annual breakdown of that?
I don't have exact numbers, and I think from the Department of the Attorney General's perspective that the referrals and the cases that we've been pushing through and processing has remained at a kind of a steady pace.
I want to say something about that, and I appreciate that question. This is much less about a look back than a look ahead as part of a solution, what we're trying to get done. And look, the other thing I want to point out, while we talk about mental illness rather than addictions, the other thing that we're learning putting people through treatment from our doctors, that many of these people also, and I talked about this in my State of the City, are very physically sick as well. In many cases, a lot of terminal diseases, in cancers and organ failures and things of that nature. And so getting them mentally right also helps them deal with their physical maladies as well, and that sickness too. And that's another added dimension. So that's why we're here today recruiting, because quite honestly, it's, we think there's so much more that could be done. So yeah, whatever's happened. This is about a going forward basis. I couldn't ask for a better panel of speakers. And I want to thank you, sir, to tell you, but honestly, we're trying to create something here. So I'm going to say it again, one more time. The way you can get involved is at gal@courts.hawaii.gov. We're calling on all those lawyers out there who want to do some remarkable work to help people really in need and make a real big difference for our community. Any last questions, Dylan?
Mayor, on that note, we know lawyers love their billable hours. Aside from a sense of good job, pat on the back, if HB 398 doesn't pass, do you have a plan to incentivize these lawyers?
We don't have a financial plan right now. I'm hoping it will pass because, as I said earlier, it's a state and the city. It's not just me and the governor. A lot of other people are aware. This is one time right now I feel, and I mentioned that council as well, everybody's stepping up. Everybody's recognizing that this is a problem that we just can't look the other way anymore on. And that's what this is about. So if that happens, I'll be more than disappointed. We'll adapt to that when it happens. But at the end of the day, even the compensation, quite honestly, I looked at the scales, is not what people are making in billable hours. So we're asking, as you heard today, for people to volunteer part of their time. This is what this is about. Everybody helping out. Everybody being part of the solution and not walking away from the problem. Okay? Ryan, thank you.